Welcome to the Trisbrina Show, everybody. I'll be the Tris.
Brina here.
And we've got a juicy topic for today. Any of you ever had a near-death experience? That's not something I've had, but one of our dear friends has.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina, you called it a life-giving near-death. Mm-hmm. And I threw in awakening experience because...
Of course he did.
Of course I did. I love that word awakening. Satori's awakening. But we're going to talk with you about an experience a dear friend shared with us and some of our insights into the beyond, if you will. And we'd love to hear from you as we go through this. It's going to be pretty juicy.
Yeah.
It's a good topic.
So Tristan loves for everything to be an awakening. So let's say I have a cookie recipe and it's called banana oatmeal cookie. All of a sudden they're banana oatmeal awakening cookies.
It's not true, but it's a good idea. It's branding, baby.
Yes, so, well, shall we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
Well, if you haven't watched Debra's video where she tells this story herself, we've actually loaded it. You can get it at satorimethod.com/Debra, not Deborah.
Debra?
Debra.
I'll put it in the comments for everybody.
And she's actually doing a series of videos. She's a really good friend of ours from years and years and years and years. She was actually one of Deepak Chopra's first instructors.
She's helped a lot of folks. You guys know Janet Atwood, The Passion Test?
Yeah,
Janet
Marcy.
used to work for Debra when she was getting started.
Yeah.
Marcy Shimoff?
Shimoff. She was her secretary. So
Janet was the secretary, right?
No.
Oh, Marcy was.
I think so.
I know that they work closely. Anyway, Debra's been around doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
She's got over 40 years of meditation experience. And we wrote a short, I don't know if it was short, we wrote an email to you recently about when I first met Debra. And it was about 10 years ago. And she was interviewing me on a teleseminar. Do you remember those? It was just the phone. There wasn't a Facebook Live back then.
Just audios.
And I didn't know who she was. I didn't know that she had been Deepak Chopra's teacher. And I didn't know a lot of things, right? So I was kind of green and new at this whole sharing. And I'm just talking about meditation and how much I love it. And I shared the 5-step process.
You guided her through meditation.
And I guided her through it. She was just so beautiful. But there was all the other people listening in. And at the end, we were both totally sobbing and crying because we got so lit up in that 5th step. If you have the art of Mushin, you know it's let go and let love. And she just had that capacity to drop right in and go there. And she was moved, I was moved. And she shared with me after the show, because when the event is over, everybody hangs up the phone, but you can keep talking. And she said that was just such a beautiful, powerful meditation. She told me how long she'd been teaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know who you were.
I'm glad I didn't know before.
I would have been so intimidated. And she was somebody who really gave me a lot of inspiration to keep sharing this art. Because even 10 years ago, talking a lot about meditation was still a little fringe to some circles. But anyway, she really encouraged me to continue to do those sessions. And
well,
I'm
we just
super
had
grateful
a
to her.
video conference Skype call with her maybe last week, and she said, I still remember that you, after all the years I did interviews, that Tristan was one of her favorites, and that she asked for a copy of our program so that she could keep doing it. So anyway, she's like a real friend.
She's awesome.
So I've been watching her videos, and the first one that she released in this new series was about tapping into intuition, and she teaches a very similar exercise to what we may have guided some of you guys through, which we call the trusted advisor. So it's sort of getting into a state of flow, getting into that beautiful place of listening, not asking, just listening through Qigong meditation, however you do it, and then taking pen to paper and just sort of asking, what would love have me serve? How would God have me act? And she talks and speaks everyone through that exercise. But the video that really I loved it. I watched it yesterday, and it's the second one you'll get if you register, satorimethod.com/Debra. And I didn't know this. She had a really bad infection and was in the hospital dying. And a lot of the doctors were saying she wasn't going to make it. And they got her to the hospital, and she said she could just feel her life force draining. And then she became aware, and she tells the story better, this is my version, that she could see the same thing whether her eyes were closed or open. She could still see the nurses in the room, the doctors in the room. She could hear what everyone was saying, which is very similar to Dying to Be Me.
Anita Majani.
Yeah, other people say their heightened awareness in that moment when they feel that life is slipping, the awareness. But she starts speaking about the power of words and the power of intention, and that was her big wake-up call during all of this. She said that one of the nurses said to her husband, who was in the room crying, she put her hand on the husband's shoulder and said, "She's gonna be all right. She's gonna be just fine." And Debra said that when she said that, she could see light and sparkles, and she said it was like a cartoon of rainbows, this beautiful energy coming out of this woman's body towards her husband.
Wow.
And she said she just couldn't believe it, and in that moment she saw how important it is to share positivity, that you really are so much more than we would think, affecting someone, and we do have the power with our thoughts. That thoughts are so powerful. And she said in that moment, if she could have spoken, she would have told everyone to just stop what they're doing, gather around the bed, and start thinking. Oh, she said even when they were just thinking these of wellness towards her, it was like sparkles and light, whether they were thinking it or saying it.
The power of chi.
Isn't that crazy?
Emanating.
But then she said a doctor came in, and he looked at what was going on with the monitors, and he said in that moment, I think we're losing her. I think she's going to die. And Debra said as he said that, she saw this gray sludge, what looked like to her, coming out of his mouth, and that it had a smell.
Wow.
And that it like smelled garbage, it smelled rancid, it smelled bad. And she said she couldn't believe it. She was just laying there thinking, stop it! Don't stop it. But she said she felt it affect her body, that she literally felt like something in her was taking that on, and life force started leaving her again.
Wow.
And what this kind of awakening to her, she said in that moment, if she lived, she would consistently be more aware of what she said to someone, and never think that anything you say doesn't matter, and to catch the thoughts early. And she describes it as at first a negative thought, whether it's like negative towards yourself, just a self-judgment or judgment on somebody else. It's just like a little flint, what's it called? Flint from a
like
fire.
a little piece of flint from a fire, a little simber.
And you can just flick it off, and it's okay. It's if you leave it there and let it grow.
Yeah.
And so she was saying, she started saying cancel when she was, so she survived. She just made these videos. And so she says when she feels herself thinking something like that, now it's just so ingrained. Say cancel, choose different.
Erase, replace.
Erase and replace.
Erase, replace.
And in that moment of this heightened awareness, she said she saw what seemed like this perfect choreography happening of all the nurses going around the rooms, and she could feel some of the some of the nurses judging people. And this one nurse dropped something, and she said everybody looked at her like, stupid new nurse, so clumsy, stop dropping things. And there was this negative energy towards her, and she kind of sheepishly bent over to pick up what she dropped. And when she did, she was a new nurse who was blocking the monitor, and when she bent over to pick up that thing, the experienced nurse saw the readings on this monitor and realized they needed to turn down something, and if they hadn't done that right then, she would have died.
The orchestration of the divine.
That's what she was saying.
How amazing. So don't judge, right? You just don't know. That person might be making that boo-boo, which is so awesome for you, and you get to live. Like, we don't know. This universe is so magical like that. This divine orchestration. you're reminding me of how important it is to catch the thoughts and be aware of what you're emitting, that you are an energetic expression. And thoughts, like I would say to Sabrina when we go to Las Vegas, we stay in places where it's like super high voltage and a lot of people gambling. Like, we don't go there a lot, but sometimes we go to events there or to see my stepmom and we're doing business. I said, it's like there's thought smog. I can hear it. I can't necessarily see it, but I can feel
you can
it.
smell it in Vegas.
You can certainly smell it. But there is an energetic field, a soup, that we can actually sense and navigate our lives better the more receptive we become. I have a mini story to tag onto this. It was years ago. I was still teaching at the martial arts school here locally when we were part of a country club. And I had just come, and I was with you, and we'd been swimming and meditating. And so we were in water and energy and stretching and laying out on the grass and meditating. And I was so freaking deep in this state of meditation.
We were by the pool?
Like Barton Springs.
Okay.
And I had to go to the country club to set up and go into the locker room and get changed and then go to the place where the dojo was. And there was this one lady that worked at the club. And she was a French lady, and she was a little bit trippy, but super connected, super present. And she worked in sales, which was bizarre, but she would always have these really cool spiritual talks with me. And I remember walking into the country club, and I was so in the energy soup, and I wasn't in my mind, and I had this awareness. You know what? I've been in my life trying to understand my life through psychological measures, through reading books, through doing different work on my mindset, which is great. But I had such an awareness of the energy soup and the state that I was walking in. And I said to myself, I should just operate from this place rather than my mind, and sense and feel through the energy, because it's more clean, it's more clear. It's like you have direct access to what your emotions and your energetic field are telling you. I was like, that is just the simplest way to live. And I walked in, opened the door, and that lady, she was standing behind the counter. She's like, oh, I don't understand. And she looks at me and she's like, you're looking at me from your third eye. And I was just right here because I've been meditating. I was just like in this place, and I'm like, so you can see it. Some people can see it, like Debra. She was seeing it. She was feeling it. There's what an incredible access. It's why she's such a great teacher.
Yeah.
And you and I, we all can access this. Pretty
and
cool.
I love what you said about this orchestration that's happening, and even what seems the most mundane. I remember years ago hearing Esther Hicks tell a story about how she loves numbers like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, anything on her odometer that she thinks it's really fun. And that she was driving her bus across the country, and her husband was driving behind her in their car. And she said she looked down, and that she was like 0.2 of a mile from it being like 99999.
What?
And she was like, she said she didn't know why, but that just like so delighted her that she called Jerry. And she says, I just have to tell you something. She goes, in 0.2 of a mile, my car's gonna say 99999, and that just and he laughed, but she said he really laughed and said, I can't believe all of this is so perfectly orchestrated for our entertainment. She said, what did you mean? He said, in 0.2 of a mile, mine's gonna be 88888. And she said, awesome. They both just laughed and like, what type of orchestration does it take? You know, just to
you think you're
just
alone.
To make you laugh, just to make you giggle, just to make you smile, just being at that little place at the right moment. And nothing profound about that. But for me, I just remember hearing that and thinking, I just want more awareness of the orchestration.
Yeah.
Because it makes you more present to the person that happens to walk in front of you, the person you happen to bump into, the person you happen to avoid. You know, when you drop something, when you get stuck in traffic, what if you hadn't? Like that, if everything is so perfectly orchestrated, by our intention and our prayers and our desires and that loving force that sees us and plays with us constantly, then you can really be in the miracle of everything.
It makes you so, I so desire to be in that state because it's so clean, it's so clear, there's no overthinking for me. I don't have to try to understand with an intellectual filter. It's just obvious. You're either in love and in flow or you're not. It's not really, I mean, there's degrees of suffering, I get it. And there even seems to be degrees of connection. But I was teaching yesterday in class, we had our mindset mastery class, about those forks in the road, you know, when you're heading down the road and you get to it. And they happen all day long where you have a choice. Am I going this way or am I going this way? And it's absolutely so important to stop at those moments, if you can, and choose what's the most loving and conscious action, direction I could take right now.
Almost from your
Gut, inner knowing,
heart,
or intuition. One of the three energy centers, or all three. If you can get all three cylinders firing, you become super aligned and super intuitive, right? Use the gut, use the belly. It's an incredible instinct. Use the inner being, use that knowing, use that clairvoyance, that intuition. But when you get to those points, to be able to navigate and decide which one will be of the highest vibration. And you know it's love-based, but it's the art of catching the reactor. Because usually that's what it is. You're flowing along, and something comes, reaction, sludge comes out the mouth, right? And you can have like a sludge moment and start heading down a path, but you can cut through. You know, the fastest way, like let's say that you started going down this way and you're like, oh my gosh, I so should have been going that way. Cut through the freaking bushes. I mean, you could go back and do that. Just cut through. And you know, the fastest way is to align, is to connect to love, visualize, boom, and you quantum jump right back over into that flow.
Yeah.
But you got to catch it.
And it's not when you have choices to make, like, what does society think a good person does? Right? This is so beyond that, right? That's why there's all those stories, so many stories about people judging someone because they didn't feed the hungry, and then later you find out it's because he had something, and if he had swallowed food he would have died. But so it's really not caring what anyone else thinks, because the life that you have is orchestrated perfectly for you. It's not a show for the onlooker, right? And any judgment someone has of you following your divine guidance, that's just their black sludge. So we were saying earlier,
You're not in love. Where are you coming from? Meditate.
We were saying earlier, you know, do thoughts smell?
They do.
Right? Since that gray sludge of Debra, she said, had a bad smell. So we were saying,
Who dealt it?
who thought it?
Who thunked that?
Who thought it?
Who thunked that?
Who thought it?
That's that thought smog. You can feel
Somebody,
it though.
somebody thought it.
You did somebody thought? Pew.
Did you just thought?
That's one of those stinky thinking. Stinky thinking.
Silent. Oh, you were stinky thinking. Silent but deadly.
It's so silent but deadly. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So be careful, because they can tell what you're thinking. I used to be so freaked out about that. I'd be around spiritual people and I was like, oh no, they can hear my thoughts. I can't cancel them out fast enough. You know, when you don't want to think something, you can't help but think it.
Yeah.
Don't think of a pink elephant. Ah!
Lately, I've been, you know, when there's that judgment on myself that seems like a really good judgment, like, how can I be more connected to God? How can I make the most divine decision? I want to do more. I want to be more aligned, blah, blah, blah. That's just the same overachiever being too hard on myself that I had when I was dancing or in school or anything. Just because it's like, I want to be more, that's still as if this isn't enough. And I've really been shifting that to the answer is make more space for love. Just make more space. Make more space for love. Allow more love. Allow more God. Listen more. Because, it's totally up to me. I can open this door in the front morning and walk out and say, hello, world. And if I hear a bird chirping, I just think, he's talking to me. And if I see a squirrel run across the yard, I'm like, oh, look, he's running. He's playing with me. It's up to, the world is as I perceive it. And as I perceive it, it's then true. And I love to do that. Or you walk outside and your hair blows in the wind, and you're like, there you go, blowing my hair again. You're so silly. You can have a whole relationship with the dance as though every bit of it is loving you, or you can step outside and go, it's windy.
It's messing up my hair.
Yeah. Oh, that bird must be mad at another bird flirting with his girlfriend.
So loud. Shut up.
Squirrel, don't throw those nuts on my yard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It sucks being in that place. Living that drama.
Or just numb, right?
Just
or not
numb,
noticing.
missing.
Isn't that sad? So the person that doesn't hear the bird or see the squirrel or feel the
That's
wind.
a trip, right? We would go on these hikes sometimes. We'd go on these spiritual wanderlust experiences. And sometimes we'd be out just in nature, blissing out, and somebody come through with a boombox. And I'm like, it was such noise pollution. And they were having a good time though, so no judgment, right? They're gonna rock out with the boombox, and there's butterflies and birds chirping, and it's just chirpers leading people through the brush. I mean, it's like, what? But you can't judge it, but you can see, wow, that saying, everything, God is in everything, not everything is in that. So it's okay. Mm-hmm. You be in it.
Yep.
Don't need to
and
point
if
the finger.
that's how that person is aligning, beautiful, right? You give everybody space to make space in however they do. I like, Kobe said, stinking thinking.
I think that was Joanna said stinking thinking. This is beautiful, Kobe. I totally have this relationship, and I'm showing this side of me more and more. And I just do not care. That's it. You gotta be hands in the air.
Like you don't care.
She says, find me goofy or silly or woo-woo. Don't care. That's such a beautiful state of consciousness to be in, isn't it? Yep. Because that means total ownership of my experience.
Yep. Well, I'm teaching these dance fitness classes every morning, and I was doing them until COVID-19 face-to-face. So the shift to doing those morning classes at home is different. So in the class, we've been together for years, so other people are making jokes and little sarcasms, and I'm saying something and they're laughing and someone else is adding. There's this dance going on, and I don't even have to talk very much sometimes. Sometimes I'm just laughing at them. Yeah. And this switch to being at home when you're the live streaming, and it's very physical. It's not like, let's do a bicep and then go and chat in the chat. It's like nonstop.
What? That was a total dig, man. I did catch it, obviously. Let's go do bicep and talk. You should come to the gym with me sometime. Let's see if you...
I've been to the gym. Mm-hmm. Anyway, because I'm at home, and it's just me talking, I realize I'm sharing things that I'm thinking, and a lot of what I think is very spiritual, and they haven't necessarily heard it. They haven't necessarily heard it as much as they're hearing it now. Because as I'm dancing, I'm saying, there's a move, and I'm like, let's share our love, let's share our heart, and he hears me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are shouting out affirmations. And for the first time this morning, when I logged off, because I shared with them about this positivity challenge that we're going to share with you, and when I signed off, I thought, well, I wonder if some of them are like, I wish she'd just stop talking and dance more. And I thought, and if you do, then I'm I'm not the right teacher for you. And
Yeah.
that's a really,
Down with that.
yeah, as you grow, and I'm not saying any of them, all of them probably stopped the class and thought, wow, she is so positive. I'm so glad I got to be with her.
Yeah.
But as you grow and as you expand and you focus more and more of your attention on acknowledging and playing with the dance, people that aren't into it, it might fall away more, making space for other friends.
Or you could trip them. Just kidding. Just kidding.
So should we tell them about the 48 hours?
I like this game. Let's do it. I've been trying to play it my whole life.
Yeah.
Let's do it for 48 hours.
So you'll hear in Debra's video, satorimethod.com/Debra. This is all in the second video. After she talks about this experience of being in the hospital, she said that she read a book, and I don't remember who wrote it. It's a really, really old book, like older than maybe Napoleon Hill stuff. And Elliot somebody. And it was called the 7-Day Mental Diet, probably.
Oh no.
I've remembered so many of it.
You have a very good memory.
And it was about, can you for 7 days be on a diet from all negative thinking? And that if we could, it would totally reprogram our brains and we'd have a different experience of life. And it includes negative thoughts like judging somebody else, complaining about not feeling good or looking in the mirror and picking on yourself, picking on others, just catching it and choosing something different, erasing and replace. And 7 days is a long time. And yeah, you're right, we want to do it for our life. So her challenge was, could we for 48 hours have that intention? And so yesterday I was like, yeah. And I've actually caught myself just little ways, tiny little ways. Like, what did I do today? Oh, today I took off my shoes and I stepped on a hair barrette. And I mean, that's nothing to be positive about, but I saw myself kind of complaining about it, and I actually shifted it to, there's worse things I could step on. I'm going to be more careful. Just kind of like move the energy into something else. It's not in a way that will feel phony, although it will feel phony to you if you are used to going from negative to negative to negative. At first you can feel like, this isn't really true. And that's because your brain is having to rewire.
You're interrupting your normal routine way of thinking, which is good. You want to do that. I put the link on the screen for you to get Debra's videos. They're awesome, and you get to hear her share the story in full-blown detail from what we shared today, Sabrina shared, and other things that she's got going on. So I think that's super cool to check out. Mm-hmm. I'll put that back up later. So we were saying, and many of us have gone on a negativity diet, right? We're just a mental diet of overthinking, judging, complaining, whatever. Catch it.
A mental diet of no negativity, like
right.
No sugar.
The diet off of it.
Yeah.
But we said, well, we're going to flip it. We're going to call it the optimism binge. Okay, so we're going to binge on optimism. Okay, perpetual optimism as much as possible for 48 hours, starting now, ready, go. Okay, so I am happy.
I wasn't ready.
Happy. Just really.
Oh, good. Nancy's in.
Just do it. So it'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday around dinner time. Just do a check-in. How'd you do? And it's that fork in the road I was talking about. Like, there would be just little moments, and you'll see yourself wanting to go there. If you can catch it and reframe it, you're the winner.
Yeah.
You're playing the game really well. So it's the art of catching it, recognizing it for those of you who know mental kung fu, and then talk to the hand and recalibrate.
Yeah. And it's not about denying, like when I stepped on that barrette, it's not like saying, ow, and then going, oh, that didn't hurt at all. It's just, it's just shifting the energy. Ow, ooh, glad that didn't draw blood, right? Like there's always some little shift that you can make.
A lot of you are in. Good for you.
But I think that the best part, I started to say, I think the hardest part, and I shifted it right away. I think the best part of the challenge is going to be two things. The things that we catch ourselves saying to ourselves, like, well, that was really stupid, Sabrina, or...
Oh, yeah, you have to catch it against yourself, too. So
That's like number one. Mm-hmm. Or probably your spouse and children.
No.
Yeah.
We don't judge those close to us. It's only the
But
people
you know
far
who we don't judge is our dogs.
I never judge the dogs. Very rare. Winston, how dare you? Look so cute. Oh, by the way, your mom is having a Jones attack for Winnie. So you have to get Winnie up here before we say goodbye.
You do it.
You do it. Conscious mindset matters. Very well said. Okay, so that's the plan, kids. For the next 48 hours, just have fun with it. You know, it's kind of enlightening. It's like, anybody ever do calorie counting? And you're like, oh, wow, I eat a lot more than I realized, right? You're going to probably realize, wow, those sneaky, pesky ants, automatic negative thoughts, ants, show up more than I realized. And just by bringing a little extra mindfulness to the equation and playing it as a game, nobody's judging you, playing your non-judgment game, you will notice things and you're going to raise your level of awareness. And that's super cool.
And if you think about, like, Debra's experience in the hospital, our own thoughts, like, let's say you're in the car and you're caught in traffic, which probably isn't going to happen right now. What's going on in the world? You could take his leopard, his cheetah off.
No, he's got to wear his little hat. This is his leopard outfit. So this is called a snood. Aww. So it's when he eats his dinner, because his ears are so long, it gets in his food or his breakfast.
Tristan has one too.
I have a snood as well. I used to. I don't need it anymore. Anyway.
So you're in your car and you're thinking, like, either judging yourself or complaining. Just think that you're sludging, like
you're desludging.
Who thought it? You thought it.
Who thought that?
You thought it in the car all by yourself.
Dinky.
Or you're putting sparkles and lights and love and unicorns in the car with you.
Barbara says, at least you're not telling us to snap a rubber band on our wrist every time we have a negative thought. I know some people teach that technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little different.
But it's just about shifting and choosing and really changing the habit. I noticed, because I love humor and I really like sarcasm and I really like playing on words. It's important for me, I want to always do that because it's the playfulness behind it, right? Just because you say something, like in an acting class, they used to have us do love scenes, but instead we're going like, I can't stand you. Like, you would say words, but it would be a love scene, or the opposite. You'd be fighting. You say you're fighting. You'd be in the middle of the fight, and the teacher would say love, and you still have to fight, but you're like, you look so good tonight. But you have, you look so good tonight. So it's not the words. You can't fake yourself.
He said, I'm done, guys. I gotta go.
It's going to be what it's feeling. And I just want to stress the importance of you're actually changing your vibration of what you want more of. So as you shift into that positivity, right, law of attraction, just the way of the world, you're saying, I want to feel good more often. And when you keep choosing to feel good, that's your shout out, is feeling good is my normal. And then take it up a notch. Like, maybe now, maybe normally your negativity is a 9, and you can bring it down to a 7, and then work to bring it to a 6. What's your negativity?
Baby steps.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
The heat. It's obvious. 10.
10.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in England. I'm going to blame it on that. I blame a lot of things on growing up in England.
Is that negative?
Yeah. No, it's my out. But something about the heat is, I'm working on it.
Oh, we can't even walk like 3 houses.
I'm working on it, right? So today, and it's getting hot here. It's not like sticky hot yet. It's coming. But I'm working on weaning myself off my reactions to the heat. And it's biological, but then it goes psychological, right? Like, at first my body goes, I'm dying, right? It's a reaction. And then my mind goes, yes, you're dying. It's too hot here. You should be in California or something, right? Which I know is true, but I'm here. No, I'm kidding. Austin's amazing. I'm catching it. I'm just like, it's a game, and I'm learning to love the heat. I'm trying to learn to love the heat. I'm grateful for... There's a lot of other things to focus on. Can you hear my mind spinning? You know, I'm very grateful.
It's not negative though to just say
to see it.
It's
Yeah.
90 degrees. That's pretty darn warm. I'd love a breeze to come. Probably won't till fall.
Yeah,
Right?
I will just walk and be focused. I'll just shift the focus to what I love. I notice that when I come in the house after a long walk, when it's super hot, I do feel a little dizzy. So I go in and I hydrate, and I'm trying to calibrate my body to be okay with it. And you know what? There's people who live in other conditions that are probably a lot. So just be quiet. Blah blah blah.
No, walking to the mailbox in 90 degrees is the worst.
It's not fun, but who cares, right? Just,
But he does. He gets like he comes home. We walk together. I have on long pants, a long sleeve shirt, a big hat, and I'm not sweating at all. And we get back to the house, and the whole back of his shirt is soaking wet.
it's hot out there. I love Barbara. She says, Yoda says there is no try. Do or do not.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Coolio. All right, I do the same, says Nancy, but with the cold up north, right? You've got the flip. It's like brr, right? Hey, there's so many things that the mind can find to complain about. It's sort of just a reactivity thing, Sometimes there's a component that the mind takes a hold of, which is actually a defense mechanism. The biology is saying, hey, this is too hot, go to where it's not so hot. It's as soon as the mind comes in and places judgment on it that we get ourselves into trouble. So the sooner we can interrupt that pattern,
what would be
the
good?
body will actually probably be just fine.
If any of you want to write in the chat one or two of the things that just like daily for me that you're excited about shifting, and because other people probably go, we're basically all the same. Like I get frustrated when I'm ready and Tristan isn't. That just bothers me.
It rarely happens.
My second thing is when he lies. Like that bothers me too.
Let's not go down this path.
Like it's probably a common thing that maybe in one day it's like the same thing, right? Who left the back door open?
It's great.
Who left the back door open? Who left the back door open?
Years ago, when I had a roommate, we had house duties. And so different, and this was a couple of guys living together kind of thing. And so, think college. His thing was to clean the bathroom on like Thursday. That was it. Just clean the friggin' shower, do your part. And he'd never do it. And I would get so PO'd, man. I would get so pissed. Like, selfish, and what a jerk. And I'd leave messages on his door. Like,
Messages on his door.
Yeah, man. I was pissed. I'm like, jerk, not doing. And I'm all in this not so good place about it, right? And then one day, I was meditating. I was learning how to meditate and to see my thoughts and catch my vibration. I'm like, you do it.
Yep.
Just you clean it. Stop this drama. Just, if you want the shower cleaned that bad, clean it. So I just started cleaning it. And I enjoy it. And it was fine. And I didn't care. And I completely dropped the drama. And then that person started cleaning it. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't because I did it to get him to do that. I needed to own my emotion. Yeah. I needed to own my mind. Yeah. It's a part of the Satori system that became very integral to me. Yeah. I had to catch it first and stop complaining and just see, okay, divine orchestration, what are you trying to teach me? And I'm so grateful for those lessons.
I have one more story.
Okay, last story and then it's goodbye.
I had a housemate.
You did what?
So
you had a house. Oh my God.
Four of us lived in a house. And one of the women, she was probably 10 years older than me. We all had our own rooms, and we... I don't remember like cleaning being assigned. Maybe we had somebody come in every 2 weeks. But respectable things, like if you cook a big meal and use skillets and fry things and make pasta and use all the utensils, you put water in them and then later wash them. And this woman, she was Italian, and she would cook in all these skillets, all this grease, use every pot, and then just leave them. And then she might do it again. I don't even know where she was finding these pots and leave them. And if she was in a hurry, she wouldn't pull all the way up in the driveway. She would just stop at the entrance so no one could block her. And I remember asking her, well, how come that's okay? And she said, I might have to leave quickly. And I'm like, well, then park in the street. And she drove me crazy. And I actually talked to a therapist about it.
That's pretty bad.
I did numerous times. Because it would so frustrate me, because I thought it wasn't fair.
Wrong
what
action.
She was doing was not fair. I was cleaning up, everybody was cleaning up, and then if I wanted to use dishes or any pots, I had to clean her skillets with her meat scrappings in it, and I don't even eat meat. It was just so gross to me. And I remember what I learned from that is that I have a thing with things are supposed to be fair. What is that? Whose concept is that things are fair? Right? That's my issue of thinking things need to be fair. And also, this teacher said to me that you can't judge other people. He actually used this analogy. He said, "Oh, you think everyone is an A student? Like, let's say in school, I made an A on washing my dishes." And he goes, don't you remember sometimes there's A students, there's C students, D and F, and everybody might be trying to their best capacity, but that's the best they have in that area. And he said that this woman, he says, that might be her doing her best.
That might be her A.
He said, what about that?
There's a reframe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That changed my life, to think that someone might be doing their best and I'm thinking they're just lazy, they're doing it on purpose. Yeah, out to get me, not realizing how overwhelmed they were. And then shifting that into definitely still expressing and wishing she would clean and asking her to move out at one point and not living with her anymore. But I'm the one sometimes that wanted something clean. I'm the one that wanted it clean, so why don't I clean it? Obviously, no one else in the house cared, so I'm carrying all this anger for something I want. They don't want it.
There's so many layers of lessons, right?
Yeah.
This is like each human needs a different lesson at a different time, because somebody else might need to, in that moment, stand up for themselves and say something to that person. So you can't like go, that's the lesson of the universe, and that's the only lesson,
right.
Apply that there. Because we're all in different places.
Yeah.
Wayne Dyer might say you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
So maybe you should look at how you're putting energy out.
Yeah.
Right. So
Totally.
everything's different. But for her, that was the perfect teaching in that moment.
Because I wasn't feeling like the victim. Right. So if sometimes from a place of victim, I'm just going to wash these dishes because I'm the victim. Yeah. I wasn't like that. I was like, this is not fair. This is not,
Still a victim.
So it was really, but it was a strong victim.
I'm an aggressive victim. I'm a self-righteous victim.
So my lesson that I got out of that was really compassion and to stop thinking that everyone is me. That everyone thinks like me, everyone knows what I know in every area. That's and by doing that, life will reflect back and have people see me in that way and be kind to me in ways that I'm doing my best, but it's nowhere near what they think it should be.
That's the perfect word, Bonnie, is to reframe. So it's at those moments, those junctions where you get to make a decision, when you get to choose. And the reframe is, what frame are you going to put around it, and do you like that frame?
Yeah.
Or do you want to swap it out and put a new frame on it, right? And that will be the path that'll be the frame you walk through.
Wow, that's so
Isn't
cool.
that beautiful, right? So Sabrina's been known to say, I reframe. She reframes at the speed of God. And I love that, because God is love. So if you can reframe at the speed of love, that's a beautiful goal to have. To catch it that fast, make that beautiful, switch out the frame, and all of a sudden, it changes everything. She just reframed with the A student concept, right? That way of looking at this. Wow! And you have what? You get a Satori. You get a moment of clarity. You get a shift in consciousness. Isn't that all we're doing here? We just want to keep shifting our consciousness so that we can be beautiful and flow. Dang, I like this conversation. Thanks, everybody. Is this fun or what?
Yep.
Pretty good stuff.
So You should write in the chat, because when you write something and you say something, you're more likely to stick to it. I'm in 48 hours.
We got a bunch of people that are in for 48 hours.
Positivity Binge.
It's 47 and a half hours now. You got, that's all I have left to go to be positive, then I could be negative again. So have fun with it. We'll see some of you in the other groups and things that you're a part of. And until next week, keep reframing at the speed of love. Mm-hmm. Okay, guess what? It's music time. Because we always dance it out, right? Mm-hmm. To your favorite song or a different one?
Oh, yeah, let's do that spooky song.
No, I won't do spooky. I'll do this one. This one's nice.
Spooky.
Thanks, everybody.
Here, take your glasses off.
Oh, we're going to do
Okay, those in the business school, we're looking for the thumbnail. Let's do another one.
Woohoo!
Let's do another one.
She makes my life so much fun. You guys make our lives so rich. Thank you for being part of this crazy, wacky ride we're all on. Until next time, so much love to you all. Keep on reframing. Bye now.